want to take this opportunity, however, to suggest that we all hail heroic. Oh, that's all I'm saying.
Forgive me, Doctor. I'm receiving a number of distress calls. I don't doubt it.
Y'all remember the 50 waitresses. Have a mighty fine night.
You come in peace, surrender or be destroyed. Here to make war, we surrender. All's good. Important things are leading you weakness.
When the appointed hour arrives, the Marauders will deactivate their cloaking devices and begin transporting Klingon shock troops directly to the landing zone.
Landing zone? Where? Tell me.
Why not? Your feeble weapons will be useless against us. We will kill all your males and take your females to mate with.
All right. Now the Federation's taking over, whether you like it or not. You people, you've been running this planet like a piecework thing. From now on, it's gonna be under one roof. You're gonna run it like a business. That means you're gonna make a profit.
Look at these 3 words written larger than the rest. With a special pride never written before. Or sin's tall word, proudly saying, we the people.
Hi, I'm Nicole DeBoer. I played Lieutenant Ezri Dax on DS9, and I welcome you to Birdo Prey 5 channel. Hail Karoga.
There we go. Hello, world. It's Birdo Prey 5 Qapla, and welcome to Deep Space Nine Wednesday for December 30th, 2020. We are 1 day and change away from 2021. And 2020 keeps fighting it. It won't let us go easily. Besides an unfortunate incoming congressman who lost his life, we also find out that Marianne herself, Dawn Wells, who played Marianne Summers on Gilligan's Island, passed away today. I got the sad news from Orville Nation and saw people talking about it in this stream already. So Marianne, we missed you. As you guys know, Marianne was always my favorite of the women on Gilligan's Island, which, her only real competition, let's face it, was Ginger. Although Mrs. Howell was there, I never really looked at her in the same way. So rest in peace, Marianne, or Dawn Wells. Dawn Wells. And man, 2020 is not going to let us go easily. I think there's going to be more. There's going to be more, unfortunately. Excuse me, I just have to look at something. Okay. Keeping an eye. Okay. Letting my friend know I'm keeping an eye on his computer system while we do all this, because that is what friends do. And yes. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to the chat. Karoga Knight says, Viva Karoga. Viva the end of this nasty, disagreeable, unpleasant, horrid, awful, dreadful, terrible year. Kuroganite. Yes, our year, as awful as the year was, our year was blessed mid-year with Charlie, nephew O'Prey. So, given the choice, if God ever said you could erase 1 year from history, it would not be 2020. As awful as it would be. And Mom O'Prey said it would be 2009, the year I went in the hospital. So yeah, probably would. Chrono says, "Oh crap, is this where Quark gets bullied?" It is. This is where his employees decide to form a union. And we find out that Chief Miles O'Brien is a union guy. There was a big union guy in the O'Brien family, and him and Worf even start fighting. They have a bar fight over unions on Deep Space Nine. And Cisco's got to yell at them both. And Worf also moves his quarters to the Defiant. And if I remember right, the first real, well, it's not the first, but the sparks in the Dax Worf relationship start to show themselves. And I believe, but I didn't double check. So if anybody wants to double check and say I'm wrong, I think this might be the first episode with Lita. I don't remember seeing her in a previous episode, although by this episode she's already the boyfriend of the girlfriend. Jesus Christ. She's already the girlfriend of Dr. Bashir. So so we'll see. I don't remember if she's in anything else. Kronos says, "Can't you just stream now, Bert?" I'm sorry, Kronos. I couldn't stream early. I was very busy. Very busy. I was even a little late getting here. Through no fault of you guys' own, just one of those days. I had a doctor's appointment in the middle of the afternoon. And then I was listening in on Captain Trek's stream. Like I had another 20 minutes to go, and I looked at the computer and it was 3:59. I was like, oh crap. Better hurry. Not Ryan Johnson says hello in Qapla. Hail Karoga, not Ryan Johnson. Rock Solid Productions says hashtag birds late, hashtag hail on Karoga, hashtag imprison Aberjam. Rock Solid recently put out a video where he cleaned out the most disgusting Xbox S series. I don't know what an S series is. Stupid Microsoft with their stupid naming convention system. They've lost me. I don't know. I just know that the S, it sounds good. No, the S is like a crap. Why don't they just call it the Xbox 1, 2, 3? They couldn't do that. So for whatever reason, Xbox S series, which I'm convinced lots of idiots are buying thinking it's the new Xbox, but it's the old Xbox. He got one for the cheap, but he had to clean it out and he had to fix an HDMI port, but when he opened it up, he found the most disgusting, vile stuff inside. If you want to be really freaked out, go look at his video. Don't watch it while you're eating. That's all I'll say. That is all I'll say. If it was me, I would have just tossed that thing in the trash. But he put in the time and effort. He did a good job. Richie Poole is saying hey to Kronos, and he says Dawn Wells passed away. She was 82. Rest in peace, Dawn. Well, yes, Mary Ann was my favorite as well, Richie. John DeMarco says birds late. We should go on strike. John DeMarco says hello everyone. Qapla John. Richie Poole says yes, Bird is officially late. 47 Yorktown says hello young sir. Qapla. 47 Yorktown. Dee Dee Meyer says Qapla Bird of Prey. How are you and the family doing today? I'm doing okay, Dee Dee. Mamo Prey is limping. She's got some knee pain today. I believe Sisso Prey, Nephew Prey, okay. Mamo Prey talked to them earlier. It's their first. They spent their first night in the new place last night. And Dee Dee says hello to everyone in chat. Commodore Ty says, I like the background bird. Where did you get it? Google. I mean, I cut out the window. Well, the window I got from the Deep Space Nine documentary as a still. And then I cut out the circle, the oval, and made it transparent. And then that picture of the station I got from Google somewhere. I pasted it back there. And then when we watch the show, it will fill in the window. That's where the episode will appear. Of course, not the whole episode, just a screenshot every 10 seconds or so. If you want to watch the whole episode, then do go to the screening room link, which is right below it at birdopray5.com/SR. Or if you have your own copy, of course, or have access to Hulu, Netflix, CBS All Access, or Amazon Prime Video, you can watch DS9 there. Pixelate channel waves, Qapla Pixelate. Commodore Ty says, I hope you can take part in my Twitter poll. If it's what series to do next, I already voted. I voted for The Mandalorian. John DeMarco says Lita was in a few episodes before this one. Okay, my bad. It's the first time I remember seeing her. Richie Poole says Lita is a girl. Yes, Lita is a girl. My bad. And Joseph Patrick with a €2 super chat says greetings from the future. Greetings, future man. Qapla. I hope all is well. You are oh so much closer to New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, and then New Year's Day. It's going to be more important than ever to keep us apprised of what 2020 is going to do to get us at the end. John DeMago says, for example, Jadzia had the ceremony to meet the past host. Oh, right. Yes, that's Pflugerville. Qapla Pflugerville. You're right, John. I forgot. Captain Track says, hello, Qapla Captain Track. Captain Track did a morning brew today. I don't know if he's still doing it, but if he is, check him out. If he's not, make sure you subscribe so you get notification of the next morning brew. Darth Maul says Kurogan. No. Not gonna say that word. See it, and Joseph Patrick super chat. Thank you. Qapla again, Joseph. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually watch this episode. Bar Association, a pretty good episode if I remember it right. And I'd be honest, I think I remember this episode pretty well. I enjoyed the scenes where Worf and O'Brien kind of fight over the Union, and there's a lot going on in this episode. There's a little bit of everybody in this episode, if I recall. Maybe that's one of the reasons I like it so much. And it's also a heavy Ferengi episode, and Quark. I'll be honest, Cisco kind of blackmails Quark a little, and yeah, he shows that he's not above acting like a Ferengi to get what he wants. Mike Richards says, greetings from Columbus, Ohio. Greetings, Mike Richards. Qapla. And John DeMarco says, Worf is great in this episode. He is. He's great in a lot of episodes, but this one is particularly good. So let's go ahead and head to the screening room. So I will bring up this, and I will head to the screening room, and I have to mute the computer so you guys don't hear it. And okay. Everything is set up, guys. give me one quick second you guys head to the screening room, and we're at the beginning of it. And I just need to do one more thing for my friend. This will take a second. Do, 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 do. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Okay, good, perfect. We're gonna do a countdown. Oh, right, of course. If you want me to read your chat during the stream, be sure to put @BertoPray5 in front of it. So I will do my best to read it in that case. Commander Ty says, so people will like Bird and vote in the poll. And there's the link. Will anyone vote for something else but The Mandalorian? Commodore Ty, to be completely honest, I really wasn't sure what some of the other ones were. And I don't know. I don't know. Feel free to, it's your channel, your decisions. To me, it seems like if you're going to review a current show like Mandalorian, like the sooner the better. The sooner the better. So that's why I voted Mandalorian. A, I thought it was the most interesting show since I didn't know what some of the others were. And B, I think it probably has the biggest chance for helping grow your channel because The Mandalorian is so popular. So popular. I wish I had done Mandalorian reviews, but I didn't. I stuck to the Trek reviews, and I didn't even watch Mandalorian until very recently, and now I have to cancel Disney Plus before they bill me for a second month, but I'm only like a week into my subscription, so I got some time. I think The Mandalorian is best for your channel, so that's why I voted that way. But if you prefer something else, you do where the passion is for you. You do where the passion is for you. That's going to be more important in the long run. But if you want to vote, then sure, I vote Mandalorian. That's just the way it is. I hope whatever you choose, it works out the best. I truly, truly do. Because Commodore Ty, criminally undersubbed. The man puts in far more effort into his reviews than I put into mine. And he has a gift for keeping, what might be a 30 or 40 minute video for me down to like 8 or 9 minutes. So that's generally what people look for. So please check out Commodore Ty if you haven't already. You will thank yourself for doing so. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. And we got the Defiant. The Defiant is coming up to the station. It's docking. There it is. Worf is talking about department heads. He's wants reports dismissing everybody. Dax says it's a successful mission. 5 days in the Gamma Quadrant. No sign of Dominion. Worf is saying that he was on maneuvers. He felt it was a little sluggish, turning hard to port. She's talking about inertial dampeners. He's saying we're gonna fix this. We should also check some other things. And Dax is like, oh, O'Brien's gonna be disappointed. He thought he fixed everything. And Worf says O'Brien did a really good job, but it's his duty to keep the ship functioning at peak efficiency. And Dax is like, Worf, you're in love. And he gets shot. He gets scared. She's like, with the Defiant. And he's like, and you exaggerate as usual. He was afraid that she thought he was in love with her. And Lita, there's beautiful Lita. And she's laughing at Miles and Bashir, who are dressed up like Vikings. And O'Brien's like, yeah, your public has spoken. Lita likes it. Says it shows off Bashir's legs. She gives him a little kiss on the cheek. They're They're Irish warriors fighting a ravenous horde of Vikings. He gets to be the king. He's like, why do you get to be the king? Bashir asks O'Brien. O'Brien's like, it's my program. Also, he's a direct descendant of the king. But he says, but it's my program. And we get Quark walking around the corner, keeping an eye on things, looking at a random person. Nobody's doing anything. The bar's empty. Quark is pissed. He's like, why is no one here? And he's looking at Lita. Lita's like, I don't know. And Rom is moaning at the bar. He's pouring all these things into a beaker, or that's not beakers and test tubes. And he's like, oh, it's the Bajorans are fasting for a month. They're like, why do they need to fast for a month? They're not hedonistic. He's like, they're not that bad. They shouldn't be fasting for a month for a cleansing ceremony. And meanwhile, we see that Rom is making ear medicine at the bar, and he pours it all into his ear. And Quark is like honestly saying, that's disgusting. You're scaring away his customers. He has no customers but Morn, and Morn's not going to get scared away. And Lita says, oh, Rom, you look terrible. You should lay down. I think you should lay down. And Quark is like, I don't pay you to think. And she's like, there's nobody playing Dabo. He's like, I don't pay you to think. I pay you to spin the Dabo wheel. He's like, nobody's playing Dabo. He's like, oh, how can they when there's nobody at the table? And now Rom is like, tells Rom to go back to work. Rom is like, am I still standing? And his vision's getting all blurry. And he's about to fall down, go boom. And Quark says, if you don't get back to work this instant, you're going to have more time than you know what to do with. So he's going to fire her. And then Rom just falls backwards and falls over. And Lita runs to Rom. Now, at this point, she's not dating Rom yet. But he's like, Lita says, are you going to do something to Quark? And Quark says, of course I'm going to do something. I'm going to dock his pay. He just looks at him. This is uncharacteristically selfish, even for Quark. And he has another Ferengi bartender help him. Opening credits. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun dun dun. Do 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 do. Do, do. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Dun 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 dun. Dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Rock Solid says, I guess Berto Prey has a weak constitution, almost as weak as the USS Enterprise. What the hell is wrong with you, Rock Solid? The Enterprise? That's a danger. Those are fighting words. So Bashir is like, how long you've had this pain in your ear, Rom? He's like, a couple of weeks. He's like, oh, more like 3 weeks. He's like, you could have died. It was quite a serious infection. He's like, you would have been bidding for your life in the divine treasury. He's like, why? Why couldn't you come? He's like, he was busy. It would be a violation of his contract to have a sick day. Employees of Quark's bar are strictly prohibited from leaving the work environment during business hours unless ordered to do so. Any failure to comply will result in severe repercussions and possible termination. It's a standard clause in any Ferengi contract. We also get a random male nurse doctor here we've never seen before, and to the best of my my knowledge, we never see again. There's no such thing, says Bashir. Says Ram. He says you should get a better contract. There's no such thing. All Ferengi labor contracts are the same. Bashir says what you guys need is a union. Ram's like, a what? He's like, collective bargaining. He's like, you understand, Ferengi don't want to stop the exploitation. They want to be the ones who do the exploiting. And Bashir says, I don't see you exploiting anyone. And we got some more Packlids on the station. John DeMarco says, the highlight of every week is me humming the DS9 theme. Lita says, Bashir's a wonderful doctor. Your brother should let him see him weeks ago. And he's like, he must be getting too many umaks. And Lita's like, oh, who's the lucky female? And Ram says, no female, just me. And Lita says, I'm sorry. There's an announcement. Quark tells everybody to gather around. He's been going over today's receipts, and it's not good. The only thing is Bajoran cleansing rituals cleanse is his checkbook. Starting tomorrow, everyone's salary gets cut by 1/3. He says it's either that or I fire half the staff. Don't bother thanking me. Leaders can't afford a pay cut. He's like, it's either a pay cut or a layoff. So he's like, all right, everyone, get back to work. He wants this place clean, lights off in 10 minutes. Ram comes, he says, this isn't right. He's like, you can't do this. And Quark says, actually, I can, and I am. He's like, keep your hands off your lobes and go back to business. He's like, but once the cleansing ritual is over, he'll restore the salaries, right? Quark says, it depends. Ram says, I really want you to reconsider this pay cut. Quark says, anything for you. He thinks about it. He's like, fine, I've reconsidered it. The decision stands. He says, but brother, and Quark says, in this bar, you're not my brother. You're an employee. And employees have no right to question the decisions. He's like, I warn you, if you do this, you're going to regret it. Says the only thing he regrets, Quark says, the only thing he regrets is not being a only child. So Dax is saying, why isn't Worf praising her for getting the hand of the Mek'leth? And Worf says a Klingon warrior doesn't need the praise of his teacher. And they're listening for something. And Worf hits something. And this guy falls out of the vent. And he's got Worf's tooth sharpener, which was Nog's tooth sharpener. The guy was stealing from Worf. This Batak just robbed his quarters. And he throws him on Odo's desk. He's like, I need a statement. He's like, how did such a security thing happen? How did such a security lapse happen? He said, Odo says these things happen. Worf said, they didn't happen on the Enterprise. And Odo says, really? And he pulls over a pad and he goes down a bunch of star dates. Enterprise got boarded and seized using Klingon birds of prey, stardate whatever. a Rasmutin, a petty theft, pretending to be a scientist, committed numerous thefts. And he says, should I go on? And he says, that won't be necessary. He says, Worf. He says, Odo says, if a security lapses like this can happen on the flagship, just imagine the problem of keeping security like on DS9. And Worf says he understands, he just finds it irritating. And Odo says he understands, it's just something Worf's going to have to get used to if he's going to live on the station. Rock Solid says, Bird of Prey, while I'm not saying the Enterprise should be hauling garbage, it should be hauled away as garbage. Wow, Rock Solid. And to think how much I protect you from Soft Putty. I try to tell Soft Putty, no, don't post these terrible things about my friend, Rock Solid. And here you are making personal insults against the Enterprise and the Constitution of the United States of America. It's almost like you're a communist. Life with Matthew says, Qapla, Bird of Prey 5 and all. Qapla, Life with Matthew. Good to see you. So Ram is telling everybody we should form a union. And Lita's on board, but all the Ferengis are like, yeah, they're losing their crap. You can't have a union. He said, you are insane. You're destroying the lives of every Ferengi in this room. If they even hear us talking about they can't even say the word. Don't say the word. We're in enough trouble as it is. He says, nobody has to hear about this. If we stop talking about it now, no one will ever find out. He's like, no, it's too late. The FCA has ears everywhere. As soon as their lobes get wind of this, we're all done. We're all through. Ram says, all right, so we're doomed. He's like, they haunt us for the rest of our lives. But he says, give them a good reason. He's like, everyone, Ferengi and non-Ferengi. The way we're being treated is unfair. Don't you deserve a day off when your back starts acting up? And Gremp, wouldn't you like to take a paid vacation? He's like, you're being ridiculous. It's not going to happen. Ram says it won't happen unless we make it happen. When a Ferengi sees an opportunity, what does he do? He seizes it. And he says, an eye for one to grab it. Ram says, we've been exploited long enough. It's time to be strong, take control of our lives, and our dignity, and our profits. Strike a blow against Quark. Strike a blow against exploitation. He's like, are you with me? Everybody's cheering, yeah. And they're cheering, union, union. He got everybody riled up. So now O'Brien is over at the doctor's office. Bashir says, you have a cyst, a separation cyst. He's like, I know what it is, it's a cyst. He's like, I want a disgusting cyst on the back of my neck. And wants it off. And he's like, Julian, just get it off me. And he's like, Julian's like, you know what they say though, 2 heads are better than 1. So now Ram comes in, which right into the middle of another patient appointment. So he wants to ask Bashir about unions. He's like, you said we should form a union, so I formed a union. Bashir said, that was just talking theoretically. And he's like, yeah, I put your theory into practice. Now we formed a union, you're going to force Quark to treat us better. So Brian says, a union, good for you. He's like, yeah. He's like, who do you think made the Pennsylvania coal miner strike of 1902? Sean Aloysius O'Brien. There's a lot of things about his family he doesn't know. 11 months those mines were closed. They caved to all the miners' demands. He said, so we should force Quark to close the bar. He says, if he's reasonable about it, your request, there's no reason to strike. O'Brien's like, Quark, be reasonable? Not going to happen. He's like, you're going to have to strike, mark my words. And when you do, you have to be strong. He's like, just like Sean O'Brien. He's like, you know, he had the biggest funeral. He's like, funeral? He said, yeah, they fished his body out of the Allegheny River before the strike ended. For 52 bullets? Or 32 bullets? He's like, and Bashir says, he died a hero. He's more than a hero. He's a Union man. And he smiles at Rom. 32 bullets. Roxod's is bird of prey. Well, if you're so squeamish that some bug guts freak you out, lol. That is nasty, nasty stuff, Rock Solid. Rock Solid reminds us exploitation starts at home. Hashtag exploitation starts at home. So, Worf is asking O'Brien why everything breaks down. He's like, that's because we combine Cardassian, Bajorian, and Federation technology. None of it was designed to work together. He's like, oh, he's like, do you hear he's so busy? It's a lot better than the Enterprise. He used to get so bored sitting in the transporter room waiting for something to break down. Here, there's a half a dozen things he can do at any given time. So, O'Brien really likes Deep Space Nine more than the Enterprise. Worf, not so much, so yet. Life with Matthew says, I love how O'Brien's story takes a dark turn out of nowhere. Okay, so Quark comes in, and everybody's standing together. And Quark says, if this is a surprise birthday party, you're a month late. And he said, nope, I'm here. This is a guild of restaurant and casino employees, and we're here to present our demands. He's like, what is this supposed to be? Quark says. He says, it sounds like a union. And Rom says, exactly, so you better take our demands seriously. And he gives him a pad with demands. Quark looks at it. Increased pay. Shorter hours. Paid sick leave. Quark is laughing. Rom says, this is no joke. He's like, yes, it is. He's like, and the fact you don't know it is what makes it so funny. He throws the pad back at Rom. He's like, now get back to work before I fire the lot of you. Rom says, you can't fire us. Quark says, why not? And Rom says, because we're on strike as of now. And Quark is like genuinely surprised. And he's laughing. He's like, ah, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, and he's like, now he's realizing everybody's walking out the door. He's like, uh-oh. Uh-oh, this isn't how I thought this was going to go. So they are not only striking, they are blocking the entrance to Quark's, telling everybody not to patronize Quark's. They're giving people something for not patronizing Quark's. He's saying thank you for not patronizing Quark's. And now Quark comes over to Odo and says, may I take your order? He said, there seems to be an opening at the Dabo table. Or perhaps I can interest you. And then the hologram of Quark disappears and all the glasses break. And real Quark walks by. He says, not again. He says, are you carrying a tricorder or something on you? He's still working out the bugs in the hollow waiters. The Lesepian who sold him the program didn't mention that certain energy sources interfere with the image. It's like, it sounds like there's no end to the problem. He's like, he can take care of the Lesepian. He needs Odo to take those traitors away from the front door. They're blocking access to the bar, causing a disturbance on the promenade. And they're probably a fire hazard. They're belonging in a holding cell, he yells. Odo says, I hate to admit it, but I agree with you. From what Chief O'Brien tells him about unions, they seem like trouble. Strikes. He doesn't like mobs. If you're unable to get what you want peacefully, it's not worth having. So Quark says, good, then haul them away. Odo says, well, I'll do nothing of the sort. come directly from Captain Sisko. Don't do anything to impede your employees' freedom of expression. He's not allowed to interfere. And Quark says, would you mind serving some drinks then? And Odo laughs it off. Another hologram drops all the glasses. So we see. So O'Brien and Bashir are making guesses as to who's going to enter Quark's bar and who isn't. A Vulcan, he said, with their sense of ethics, they'll pass. A couple of Pakleds went into the bar. Bashir assumed that they would. And then Worf was coming, and O'Brien said pass. He barely set foot in there before. And then Worf goes into the bar. He's like, I can't believe it. He entered. O'Brien says, not for long, and he's going over there. He's like, where you going? He's like, he wants to talk some sense into Worf. So O'Brien and Bashir run into the bar after Worf. Roxod says, hashtag all O'Briens must suffer. So they're all in the holding cell. Worf, Bashir, and O'Brien are in a holding cell. And Sisko is here. Bashir took a punch to the face. He was trying to stop the fight, Bashir says. Worf says we weren't fighting. Since we were having a difference of opinion. Although, towards the end, they might have had a little bit of a struggle. He said, according to this, Bashir was shoved over a table. Worf says that's an exaggeration. Bashir said things got out of hand. He says, I suppose I'm going to have to talk to Quark myself. Settle this strike and get things back to normal. And O'Brien says, Captain, can we leave now? He says, he'll tell Constable Odo to let you go. Wesley Crusher, Qapla Wesley, though he says, I'm not here. So Sisko calls Quark up. And he's like, I want to settle these two, Captain. So he says, so settle it. He says, hammer out an agreement with your brother today. Quark is like, I don't think you understand the delicate situation this is. Even talking to strikers would be a violation of the most sacred rules of Ferengi culture. He's like, I don't know much about Ferengi culture. But he knows about the Federation. And he's like, the Federation has been excellent landlords. He's like, that's because they don't ask you to pay for your maintenance or your power or anything. And he's like, or your rent. He's like, until today. So Sisko starts 5 years of back rent. Repairs. Do you know how much latinum that is? Quark says he'll talk to his brother. And he's like, I'm glad we agreed. So that's the Federation. They give you free rent and free repairs, but then when they want something, they hold 5 years of back rent over your head because now they know they've got you. Really, really disgusting move. So Quark comes over to Rom and says, this is the amount of latinum I'm willing to transfer to your private account to end the strike. And he's like, are we talking bars, strips, or slips? And he's like, slips. Okay, strips. And Rom said, it wouldn't matter if it was bars. Unless you meet our demands, we're not ending the strike. He's like, we're brothers. And Rom says, not when it comes to business. You said so yourself. Quark said he was wrong. Rom says, no, you weren't. Wesley Crusher says, well, just long enough to hit the like and use all the Kurogan emojis. Thank you so much, Wes. Rock Solid says, the Federation sounds like the taxation to me. It does. It does. John DeMarco says, humans and Ferengi aren't so different after all. No, they're not. Quark is like, what happened to you? Because he starts quoting from the Communist Manifesto. Chief Liquidator Brunt is back. Liquidator Brunt. He's there. He's like, how could I forget? What do you want? He's like, don't worry, he's here to help. The Ferengi Commerce Authority has ordered him to end this nasty labor dispute. He's like, how do you propose to do that? And by any means necessary. And he takes a drink. Any means necessary. So the group, the union, is talking. They said they only had 14 customers all day. Support is growing. They're saying support, Quark is going to have to settle or go out of business. He says he doesn't know, or Quark could be awful stubborn. Rom says, don't be such a pessimist. Rule of Acquisition 263. Never allow doubt to tarnish your lust for latinum. He says your brother knows the rules of acquisition too. Employees are the rings on the ladder of success. Don't be afraid to step on them. So he said Quark came to him yesterday. He offered him a bribe. They asked, did you take it? He's like, no, I didn't take it. But then you see he's getting desperate. A few more days and we'll get everything we want. And they phaser their way into the union meeting. Chief Liquidator Brunt, FCA. And the Ferengis are like, it's not my fault. They made me do it. Forgive me. He's like, if this was Ferenginar, I'd have you all taken to the spire of the Tower of Commerce, displayed to the crowds in the great marketplace below, and then shoved off, one by one. Small children would bet on where you would land. The stuffed remains would be sold as feed. He's like, spare me, I'm old, I'm of bad health. He's like, I thought you said you weren't afraid of the FCA. He's like, I lied. And Rom's like, don't let them intimidate you. We're not on Ferenginar. Lucky for you, says Brunt. But the FCA understands. Living on the station has corrupted you. Like there's this clothed female. You've been tempted by unwholesome Bajoran ideals, exposed to twisted values of the Federation. They're willing to forgive, but don't confuse their mercy with weakness. You're not back at your jobs tomorrow morning. Your financial accounts from Ferenginar will be confiscated. Was something refined and your trading permits revoked. And you'll be damned to eternal destitution. Understood? Good, he says. Roxanne says phasers is not a verb. It could be anything. You can be phasered, okay? Like you could be shot, you can be phasered. So, Rom, the other Ferengi are telling the Ferengi that was begging for his life to get up. And Rom says, that's where he belongs. We want to be like him on our knees or standing tall like Sean O'Brien. He was a union man, a man who did stuff so that people could earn a decent wage. Brunt wouldn't have intimidated him, and I won't let him intimidate me. And he said, what about our accounts on Ferenginar? He's like, if your accounts on Ferenginar are worth anything, you wouldn't be working here. Nothing has changed. We still have to do what we have to do. And Lita's still with him. Like, are you with me? Are you with me? He's like, good, let's get back on the picket line and show Quark what they're made of. And the poor Ferengi is still kneeling. Roxas is bird of prey. No, you cannot be phasered. You can be stunned or vaporized, but you cannot be phasered. Wesley says if Bird was shot by a bullet, what would he call it? I'd say it was an ouchie. So Rom is still doing the strike. He gives a thumbs up to Chief O'Brien. Worf wants to give an apology to Chief O'Brien. And O'Brien's like, there's plenty of blame to spread around. And he's like, Starfleet officers don't brawl with each other. Like, it wasn't really much of a brawl, just a little shoving. Julian took the worst of it. Worf says, under normal circumstances, it never would have happened. But there's something about this station he finds sickening. He's like, you'll get used to it. But he thinks he's found a solution in the meantime. He's going to move his quarters to the Defiant. He's already discussed it with Captain Sisko. He says, as long as it doesn't interfere with his duties, it's okay with Sisko. He's like, but you'll be living out there all by yourself. And Worf is like, I know. Remember, the Defiant has really crappy quarters. It is not a fancy ship. He would be better off living on a runabout, to be honest. Rock Solid says, Wesley Crusher is right, Bird of Prey. If you're shot with a bullet, are you magnumed? Bare-leaded? Culted? Lita just kissed Rom on the head, talking about how brave he is. Maybe a foreshadowing of their relationship to come. And there's Quark hiding behind the wall. She kissed me, he says. Says there's no accounting for taste, says Quark. Says, are you ready to give in to my demands? He's like, of course not. Rom says, then there's nothing to talk about. Quark says, there's plenty to talk about. He's like, the FCA's involved. They're not here just for show. He's like, they're not going to intimidate me, says Rom. He says, don't you see, Rom, says Quark? There's no telling what Brunt will do. I don't want you to get hurt. He's like, you never cared about me before. He's like, I've always cared about you. He's like, why? They're telling me I was an idiot my whole life? He was trying to make you a good Ferengi, says Quark. He's like, no, you're trying to make me feel dumb and make him feel smart. He's like, but Rom says, but he's not dumb and Quark isn't half as smart as he thinks he is. He says, really, the FCA does not answer to anyone. If they decide to get rid of you, he won't be able to stop it. You're going to end up like Sean O'Brien. If the FCA gets rid of him, then the problem is resolved. You always said you wanted to be an only child. Now Quark feels bad. So Nausicaans are playing a game of throwing knives at each other. Yes, doesn't that hurt? And he says, I'm sure it does. Most Nausicaan games do. Brunt says, did you talk to your brother? Quark says, I did. I need more time. And Brunt says, yeah, time, like latinum, is a valuable commodity. He's here to put an end to the strike. He can see he's going to have to make an example out of someone. And Quark is like, what kind of example? He's like, I'm sure he'll come up with something, says Brunt. And they'll get attention. And Quark says, I don't want my brother hurt. He's like, oh, I wasn't thinking of him. If you hurt Rom, you risk creating a martyr. No, their target must be someone unexpected. Someone he cares about. Like the Dabo girl, Lita. She's not even Ferengi. He's like, I know, that's what makes it so memorable. But she has such delicate lobes. He couldn't bring herself to hurt them. So what else? Who else could he do? Who else does Rom care about? And now Brunt looks at Quark. And the Nausicaans. Yeah. He's like, but I'm on your side, says Quark. Ironic, says Brunt. Oh no, poor Quark. So Quark is in sick bay now. He's got the thing on his head. Rom comes to visit him. He says, I thought I wasn't allowed to have any visitors. Dr. Bashir made an exception for Rom. He said he was almost killed. He said, so Nausicaa shattered his left eye socket, punctured a lung, and broke something else. If Odo hadn't come along when he did. And yes, does it hurt? And Quark says, of course it does. And Rom says, too bad. He said, if you're going to stand there and gloat, you can leave. He's like, I'm not done gloating. He's like, this was a message to you. Rom says, it's not going to work. He's like, I wish Brunt had known that. He's like, Odo's got him and the Nausicaans in the holding cell. He's like, it's open in such case, but he's not going to press charges. Quark says, he's in enough trouble with the FCA as he is. He says, but if they don't press charges, he's going to have to let him go. He says, then the FCA will just send another liquidator. And then he'll make an example of you. He's like, then he'll gloat. Then you can gloat. Quark, like, I don't want to gloat. Rom says, then just give us what we want. And Quark says, I can't. I'm going up against 10,000 years of Ferengi history. They crushed his eye socket. If you had any sense, you'd be afraid too. If this strike doesn't get settled soon, we're going to find ourselves tossed out of the nearest airlock. You have to dissolve the Union. I mean, Quark does have an honest, serious opinion. Quark's like, at least officially. And Rom's like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm here. I'll tell you a secret. He means like, you dissolve the Union, make it look like I won, and I'll give you everything you want. You'll meet our demands? Yes. And he's like, that's what I just said. Even sick leave. And 6 months from now, when the FCA closes the books, you'll get your raises. He's like, 6 months is too long. And he's like, that's the best I can do. He's like, you just got to make something up. The FCA would never know the difference. Quark is like, all right. You'll get your raises by the end of the week. But the Union dies here today. And that's his final offer. He's got a fake copy of the books for the FCA. That's his final offer. Now we see the Defiant. We see Worf taking the little bit of mattress off. So he's got a nice hard bed to sleep on. So Dax says, is it better? Worf says, much. Dax thought about bringing a gift, but it didn't seem like a wise decision. So she brought a collection of her favorite Klingon operas. You can lay in bed and pipe it through Defiant's comm systems, play them as loud as he likes. He's like, it's a very thoughtful gift. And Dax says, you know, Worf, in the end, living on Defiant isn't going to change anything. You're still going to have to get used to life on the station. Worf isn't sure he agrees. He's like, sooner or later, you're going to have to adapt. He's like, perhaps in the end, it'll be all of you that have to adapt to him. Dax smiles. He's like, I wouldn't mind adapting to you right now. Okay, so the bar is open. Everybody's happy. Quark is wishing everybody to come in. And he tells the leader and says, you're looking happy. Leader's like, I just got a raise. And Major Kira is in the episode for the first time. And he's like, look, you're looking particularly cleansed. She's like, just get me 2 orders of this, 2 orders of that, and hold the conversation. Rom, why aren't you in your uniform? He says, I'll have a large snail juice. He's like, there's no drinking on the job. He's like, that's no way to talk to a customer. He's like, you're not a customer, you're an employee. Rom says, not anymore. He's one of the station's diagnostic and food technicians, junior grade, night shift. You're quitting? He's like, effective immediately, says Rom. Literally over morn. He's like, I gave you everything you wanted. But if striking taught me anything, and he doesn't want to be part of the bar, but don't worry, he'll keep his hollow suites running. It'll be good for their relationship. And he's like, think about it from his point of view. He's like, if I stayed working for you, all I'd have looked forward to was waiting for you to die. And he deserves to have a life of his own. And he says, but without me looking after you, Quark says, and Rom says he'll do fine. Quark says, I'll miss you. Rom says, no, you won't. I'll be here all the time. I'll be a paying customer. Now get me my snail juice, brother. Coming up, says Quark. John DeMarco says, meanwhile, the Nausicaans are just throwing darts at each other. Yeah. And that's the end of the episode. This was a quick episode, a fun episode, a lot of development. We got development between Worf and Dax, great development between O'Brien, Worf and Bashir, Lita and Rom and Quark, all the other random Ferengi on the station, the FCA, Brunt, Captain Sisko played his cards a little. We got to see a little bit of the true Captain Sisko. There was very little of Major Kira, and some of the other main characters weren't in the show at all. But it was a great episode, I say. Really solid episode for middle of season 4, and things are looking good for DS9. I say so myself. What is the episode for next week? Let's check it out. I should save this somewhere, but I don't. Movies and TV, Star Trek, TV, DS9, Season 4, Ascension. What's Ascension? Is this the other? Okay, this is the episode where another Bajoran comes through the wormhole and he thinks he's the emissary. And then Sisko at first is happy that there's an actual Bajoran to be the emissary, but then the guy starts doing crazy things and Sisko's like, shit, I'm really the emissary. And he says, okay, there's only one way to know who the real emissary is. He takes the Bajoran guy and they both go into the wormhole in a runabout, and they demand to speak to the prophets and say, okay, who's the real emissary? And then, of course, they say, Sisko's the emissary. And everybody believes it. And Sisko truly becomes the emissary in this episode. It's like he wasn't really sure before, but after this, he really, really plays the part. It's a decent episode. It's a lot of Bajoran heavy, Bajoran mystic stuff, and Bajoran history, and I'll be honest, it's probably not. It's certainly not in my top half of the season. It would be in the bottom half of the season, but season 4 is such a great season that even bottom half episodes are still far, far, far better than most other Trek. So we'll enjoy next week. That will be the first DS9 Wednesday of 2021. And that will see us with just I don't know how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like 9 more episodes of the season. 26, episode 26. There's 26 episodes this season. So yeah. So we will get through season 4 and hopefully all of season 5. And if things are looking well, we will be damn near the end of season 6 by the end of next year. If God willing. God willing. It's a long time out. I don't dare make plans that far out. But if all goes to plan and things stay as they are, come this time next year, we'll be in the middle to end of season 6. And then just one more season left. And then I don't know what we'll do. I don't know what. I always pictured we'd go to Enterprise. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We got a long way to go before we think about that. Roxanne says, thankfully, Nicole the Boar. Nicole the Boar wasn't in this episode. You rock solid. Damn, you rock solid. Wow. John DeMarco says, next is Ascension. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Bajoran guy comes out wormhole, thinks he's the emissary. Norman Buck Wild gives this episode an 8 out of 10. You see, like, there's always a curve. I don't want there to be a curve, but there is no way to compare this episode to Star Trek Discovery. There was a Star Trek Discovery episode I gave a 5 once or twice, and like, I want to say, oh, maybe this is a 6 or a 7. No, this is a bajillion times better than even the best Star Trek Discovery episode we've ever had. As much as I want to say there's no curve, there's a curve. And on Deep Space Nine, like, it breaks the curve. So like, episodes would be lower than they would be for an average show. So I hate doing direct comparisons. If I was directly comparing this episode of DS9 to the best episode of Discovery, this would surpass the best episode of Discovery by leaps and bounds. But, excuse me. But compared to other episodes of DS9, that's where we get into the... I'm sorry, not this episode. This episode was great. This episode is an 8 out of 10. I'm talking about Ascension. Ascension might be a 6 out of 10 on the DS9 scale, but compared to Discovery, Ascension is like a 9.998 out of 10. So yeah, we'll have to deal with it. Captain Trax says, we got a long road. Yeah, we got a long road getting from here. And Arabic Sonder agrees with Worf's decision. Living in the Defiant quarters seems cozy. Not nearly as nice as the station, but not bad having quarters on the Defiant. I guess it would be annoying every time somebody else took out the Defiant. If Worf didn't go out with the Defiant, then he'd have to like move into like, guest quarters on the station for a couple of days. But maybe that's why Worf always gets to command the Defiant going forward. I don't know. Joseph, this was a great episode. And Rox says, you need to do Voyager before Enterprise. I need not do Voyager before Enterprise, rock solid. Arabic says, yes, Voyager. And John DeMarco says, compared to Discovery, this episode is 1,000 out of 10. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Next week, Ascension. Tomorrow, look for my Star Trek Discovery review in the morning. Yes, tonight I've got to watch Star Trek Discovery. One more episode left after tonight. So we'll see what happens. I do not expect good things from tonight's episode. So if tonight's episode is even the slightest bit good, I'm going to think it's very good. And by very good, I mean very good for Discovery, not very good for Trek. Because my expectations could not be lower. They could not be lower after what we got last week. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Qapla all, thank you all for coming. And I guess bird out. I will see you guys around maybe someone else's stream or wherever. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., I'll be on Loki's Mornings of Mischief as we review this Discovery episode, and then we'll see what happens from there. Take care. Good night. Qapla. Gratuitous nudity. No, thank you all for watching my video. Please remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell icon. Without it, you won't get notifications of new videos. Check out BirdoPrey5.com, the new home of everything Bird of Prey 5 on the web. You can also check out my forum at juot.net. I'm also on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Gab. If you'd like to make a donation, check out paypal.me/BirdoPrey5 or on BirdoPrey5.com. Take care. I highly doubt there'll be gratuitous nudity on Discovery.